raw, unfiltered emotion that revealed a much deeper story. If you love the untold stories and drama in golf, make sure you subscribe. This is Golf Mode TV, and we've got the inside scoop every week. Rory just had the best season of his career, but after losing the final tournament in a playoff to his friend Matt Fitzpatrick, the win felt like a loss, and it all came crashing down right there on the 18th green in Dubai. It all happened at the DP World Tour Championship, the final event of the season in Dubai, the place where legends are made and legacies are defined. Rory was already the champion before the first tee shot, having accumulated enough points to win the race to Dubai for a record 7th time, a victory that saw him pass the legendary Seve Ballesteros. This should have been his victory lap, a 4-day celebration of his dominance over the European Tour, but it turned into a full-blown battle when Matt Fitzpatrick came to play locked in and ready to win. He didn't care about Rory's season-long title, he wanted the tournament trophy, and the final round became a dogfight between the two friends. They went back and forth, with every shot mattering, and as they came down the final holes, they were tied, forcing a playoff that had the entire crowd on the edge of their seats. The pressure was insane, and Rory had a chance to win it all, the tournament and the season title. A perfect ending to a near-perfect year, but he missed. Fitzpatrick made his putt, and just like that, it was over. Rory had won the war, but he lost the final battle, and the cameras caught his reaction as he wasn't angry, he was heartbroken. He tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come out as he fought back tears, the world's best golfer looking completely broken in what became one of the most emotional moments in golf this year. So why did this hit him so hard, when he had already secured the season-long championship? You have to understand the context, because this wasn't just another tournament for Rory. This was about legacy. He's been chasing Seve Ballesteros' record for years, the man who was his childhood hero, a Spanish legend, and the greatest European golfer of all time. Winning a 7th title was huge, putting him in a class of his own, and he even said it himself that this was the best season of his career, even better than the years he won majors. He was consistent, he was dominant, and he won multiple events, but he didn't win a major in 2025, and that's the one thing missing, the one thing his critics always point to. So this race to Dubai title was validation, proof that he was still the man, the king of European golf. And the DP World Tour Championship was supposed to be the coronation, the final celebration. Instead, it became a painful reminder of what could have been, a majorless season capped by a playoff loss. And it all boiled over in that one moment when the camera zoomed in on his face, revealing the pain, the frustration, and the weight of a decade of expectations. Let's talk about Seve for a second, because he's a huge part of this story and why this moment meant so much to Rory. Seve Ballesteros was a magician with a golf club, winning 5 majors and becoming the heart and soul of European golf, inspiring a generation that included a young Rory McIlroy. Growing up in Northern Ireland, Rory watched Seve, studying his game, his creativity, and his unmatched passion for competition. Seve had 6 Race to Dubai titles, a record that for years nobody could touch, but Rory tied it, and then he broke it. 7 titles, a new record that should have been pure joy, but it was bittersweet because Seve passed away in 2011, never getting to see Rory surpass his record. Rory felt that loss, paying tribute to Seve after the win, saying it was an honor and that Seve would always be the greatest. It was a classy moment, but you could hear the emotion in his voice, because this wasn't just about numbers, it was about carrying on a legacy. And the pressure of that legacy was clearly crushing him. And the golf world went crazy, with reactions pouring in instantly from all corners of the sport. On one side, you had people praising his season, with fellow players like Tommy Fleetwood and Shane Lowry calling him the best in the world and saying his consistency was unreal. They knew how much the 7th title meant, with Fleetwood calling Rory the most complete player on tour, and Lowry saying he was proud to be his friend, genuine tributes from guys who compete against him every week. But on the other side, the critics came out swinging, as social media lit up with people saying he choked, that he couldn't handle the pressure, pointing to the playoff loss as proof that he can't win when it matters most. It was a brutal take, and even the commentators were divided, with some focusing on the incredible achievement of the 7th Race to Dubai title, while others focused on the final moment of heartbreak and tears. Matt Fitzpatrick was classy in his victory, praising Rory and calling him a legend, saying it was an honor to compete against him, but that almost made it worse, highlighting the bittersweet nature of the day. Rory was the season's champion, but Fitzpatrick was the tournament's winner, leaving two winners on the green, but only one who felt like he had lost. This is where it gets deep, because this wasn't just about one tournament, this is about Rory's entire career narrative. He's one of the most talented golfers ever, a fact that everyone agrees on, but he hasn't won a major since 2014, which is over a decade for a player of his caliber. So every win and every loss is viewed through that lens. And while the Race to Dubai title is a massive achievement, it's not a major. Losing the final tournament in a playoff just feeds the narrative that he's not clutch, that he can't close it out when the pressure is on. Is it fair? Probably not, considering he's won dozens of tournaments and has been world number one. But the majors are what define the greats, and Rory knows it. That's why he got so emotional, because it wasn't just about losing to Fitzpatrick, it was about the weight of expectation, the burden of his own talent, and the frustration of another year without a major. He said 2025 was his best season, and he's right, because statistically, it was incredible. But without a major, it feels incomplete to him, and to the world. That single tear he shed represented a decade of frustration, a decade of being almost there. Let's break down his 2025 season, because it really was special, with multiple tournament wins and being in contention almost every week. His ball striking was elite, his putting improved, and he was making clutch shots, beating the best players in the world, making it a dream season on paper. But the majors haunted him, as he had chances at the Masters, the U.S. Open, and the Open Championship, but he couldn't get it done. Always close, but not close enough. And that's the story of Rory's last decade, a maddening reality for him and for his fans, because you can see the talent and the potential, but something is missing. Is it mental? Is it bad luck? Nobody knows for sure, but the questions keep coming and the pressure keeps building. So what happened next in the aftermath of Dubai? It was telling, because Rory didn't hide. He faced the media with honesty, saying he was disappointed and that it stung to lose the playoff, but he was also proud of his season and his 7th title. He put on a brave face, but you could see the pain in his eyes as he talked about his family and how they keep him grounded, trying to find perspective. But the image of him holding back tears had already gone viral, becoming the defining image of the tournament. Not Fitzpatrick holding the trophy, but Rory, the champion, looking defeated. In the days that followed, the debate raged on. Was 2025 a success for Rory, or a failure? There was no easy answer, as it was both a testament to his incredible talent and a symbol of his ongoing struggle. He took a break after Dubai, needing to reset, to get away from the noise, and to prepare for 2026 and another run at the majors. The golf media dissected every moment, analyzing his body language, his words, and his emotion.
Rory McIlroy shoots a shocking 78, one of the worst finishes of his PGA Tour career. When that headline blasted across PGA Tour media and the score pushed the alert to millions of fans, the golf world froze. The RBC Canadian Open wasn't supposed to be a disaster. It wasn't supposed to be historic for all the wrong reasons. But as Rory walked off the 18th green with his shoulders sunk and the leaderboard showing a number no one expected to see next to his name, the entire sport felt the ground shift. And in that moment, everyone knew something was seriously wrong. You could practically hear the gasp ripple from Toronto to every screen around the world. Fans stared at their phones like they'd misread the score. Commentators jumped into emergency mode, scrambling to explain what just happened to one of the most talented players of his generation. Social media erupted into pure chaos. Confusion, disbelief, concern, memes, arguments, and endless theories. This wasn't the Rory fans we're used to seeing. This was something darker, and the shock didn't fade. It grew. The visuals told the story almost too brutally. Rory's name plummeted down the leaderboard like a stone dropped into a lake, every hole feeling heavier than the one before it. The cameras caught frustration in his eyes, a look that even seasoned analysts struggled to read. Newsweek didn't sugarcoat it. They labeled it one of the worst PGA Tour performances of his entire career. No misprint, no exaggeration, straight reality. And that headline spread like wildfire. But here's the part that made this meltdown bigger than just a bad round. Rory McIlroy isn't just another golfer. He's one of the sport's beating hearts, a global icon, a major champion, a defining voice in the PGA versus LIV era. When he stumbles, the entire ecosystem feels the tremor. And at the RBC Canadian Open, this wasn't a stumble. It was a collapse nobody saw coming, and the fallout from this moment was only just beginning. If you zoom in on Rory McIlroy's scorecard from that brutal week, the numbers tell a story he never wanted written. His driving accuracy, normally one of the sharpest weapons in his arsenal, completely unraveled. Shots leaked left, drifted right, and refused to obey the rhythm he usually controls so naturally. Add in a short game that kept betraying him, leaving chips too long and putts too timid. And suddenly every hole felt like a rescue mission instead of an opportunity. And that's when people realized this was no ordinary off day. Something deeper was slipping. CBS Sports had already warned us. During the first round of the 2025 PGA Championship at Quail Hollow, Rory looked unsettled, missing lines he normally attacks with confidence. Analysts pointed out the same patterns: loose tee shots, frustrated expressions, and body language that didn't match a major champion fresh off a Masters victory. They described that round as disappointing, but in hindsight, it was a red flag waving in plain sight. And yet, almost no one believed the storm was really coming. Then Reuters delivered another clue. At the Australian Open, McIlroy faltered again, bogeying 6 holes and never finding a rhythm. It wasn't just the score, it was the vibe. He looked like a man searching for something that wasn't there: tempo, touch, clarity. A pattern was forming, and fans who connected the dots felt a chill. Because once a pattern appears, a slump becomes harder to ignore. But the emotional weight behind all this might be the biggest piece of the puzzle. After winning the Masters, expectations for 2025 skyrocketed. Fans demanded dominance. Commentators predicted a career surge. Even Rory admitted he felt he hadn't found momentum in the weeks that followed. Pressure doesn't always crush talent. Sometimes it erodes the edges slowly, quietly, until the cracks suddenly become visible to everyone. And that's exactly what made this collapse feel different. So now the question lingers in the air, heavier each week. Is this just a slump, or the beginning of a bigger unraveling? Because the signs are starting to point somewhere nobody wants to look. The moment Rory's collapse became official, the media machines spun into overdrive. Analysts across networks, Sky, CBS, Golf Channel, all echoed the same unsettling word: concerning. For a player of Rory McIlroy's caliber, a single bad round is nothing. But a meltdown of this scale, that's different. It sent experts scrambling to reevaluate everything they thought they knew about where Rory stood heading into the heart of the 2025 season. And when analysts start to panic, fans know something serious is brewing. The golf world's reaction split instantly down the middle. One camp clung to hope, insisting, he'll bounce back, he always does. They pointed to his talent, his resume, his history of rising from slumps like a phoenix. But the other camp wasn't feeling optimistic this time. They whispered, and sometimes shouted, that this looked different, like the early stages of a decline nobody wants to admit. And that divide grew louder with every refresh of social media feeds. Twitter, Reddit, and golf forums lit up in a way that felt eerily similar to the Rory Bryson Levy drama years. Debates turned into battlefields. One side defended him with passion, the other questioned whether the pressure, the expectations, and the relentless schedule had finally taken their toll. Suddenly, every mishit became a symbol, every expression became evidence, every rumor became fuel. That's when the ripple turned into a wave. Sponsors and commentators joined the conversation, raising questions nobody dared to voice a year ago. Is Rory burnt out? Has the schedule become too heavy? He's one of the busiest, most marketed players in golf. And when your face is everywhere, the weight on your shoulders becomes heavier than any trophy. Experts began wondering if Rory's drive was clashing with exhaustion, and the possibility of burnout sent shock through the sport. But the biggest ripple of all? When Rory struggles, the entire narrative of the season tilts. TV ratings shift. Major championship storylines bend. Golf's emotional center loses balance. This wasn't just a missed cut. It was a tremor, shaking everything built around him. And the aftershocks were only getting stronger. When Rory McIlroy struggles, the PGA Tour doesn't just lose a contender, it loses its center of gravity. Rory is the tour's most reliable needle mover, the player who boosts ratings, headlines, and global attention with a single swing. So, When he collapses on a stage like the RBC Canadian Open, the PGA Tour feels it like a body shot. Star power isn't a luxury for the tour, it's oxygen. And right now, that oxygen got a little thinner. And that's when people realized this slump wasn't just a Rory problem. It was a business problem. The tour's dependence on marquee players isn't a secret. When Tiger faded, Rory became the unofficial face of the modern era, the steady heartbeat that kept storylines alive. But when that heartbeat stutters, events lose shine, narratives lose momentum, fans drift. Tournaments built around superstar gravity suddenly feel lighter, less urgent. The tour needs Rory sharp, not spiraling. And this timing couldn't have been worse, because here's where the rivalry angle roars back to life. Critics immediately pulled out Jack Nicklaus's warning that Live Golf is buying the game. And whether fans agree or not, they can't deny the optics. While Rory, the PGA's most vocal defender, fights through his lowest form in years, Live quietly gains the advantage of stability. They don't have to do anything. They just have to watch the PGA wobble. And for a league built on disruption, that's a win without lifting a finger. Analysts are already whispering the dangerous possibility. Rory's slump could reignite the PGA Live war. As one of the tour's loudest pro-PGA voices, his vulnerability creates a narrative vacuum. The PGA loses its sharpest spokesperson. The rivalry conversation, once cooling, heats back up, and rivals sense blood in the water. Because when the shield weakens, the battlefield changes instantly. And the competitive landscape? It's shifting fast. Majors suddenly feel more unpredictable. Younger players sense opportunity. Veterans quietly wonder if the hierarchy is changing. Momentum that once belonged to Rory disperses into the field. This isn't just a form dip, it's a structural tremor, and the sport can feel the floor move beneath it. Now the world is asking the question Rory McIlroy hoped would never come this soon. What does this mean for his legacy? Will he ultimately be remembered as a generational talent